And political analyst Dr. GNAKA LAGOKE joins us via Skype from Washington to discuss the ongoing crisis in Ivory Coast. Good to have you with us, Dr. LAGOKE. What do you make of this development in Ivory Coast concerning the plight of the opposition there?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you this morning. And before answering the question, I want to commend you for the wonderful job you're doing, to give news on Africa by Africans and from an African perspective. In Ivory Coast, the situation, what you guys are talking about, this is what Ivorians have been witnessing and experiencing since Mr. Ouattara came to power. The way we know it in 2011, after the bombing of the presidential palace and after Babo's capture. So many houses were besieged, it's warlords, and then I've been beating and killing people, and then they took many properties, they froze the accounts of many leaders of the opposition parties. And as you said it, the opposition cannot organize. If you have a dissenting view on Mr. Ouattara's activities, there is no way the government will allow you to organize. There is no way they will allow you to express your view. So hundreds of people are in prison, and while 50,000 Ivorians are still in exile. So now that people are thinking that the election may be peaceful because Mr. Ouattara is flexing his muscle in order to prevent any opposition, any opposition rallies or meetings in the country. So, and this is not just the first one. It has been like that since 2011.
Now, sir, besides all the other socio-economic arguments against Alassane Ouattara, what's your assessment about the argument against him being partly Burkina Faso, partly Ivorian?
Yeah, this is a very important question, and I do not know your name, but I want to call you by your name and say thank you very much for the question. Mr. Ouattara, of course, did not tell the truth about his nationality, and I've been saying that in all my interviews. And there was a time he was known as a citizen of Volta, and then later on, when his interest required that he claimed the Ivorian citizenship, Mr. Ouattara became Ivorian as the governor of the West African Central Bank, while he was the vice governor of the West African Central Bank. And then Mr. Ouattara was known as a citizen of Volta when he came here as a student, and then he worked at the IMF as a citizen of Volta. That's the reality. But when he became Prime Minister of Ivory Coast, he was known as an Ivorian because, according to some credible sources, he was born in Ivory Coast in 1942. Now, the question in Ivory Coast, there was a group in the country who said that Mr. Ouattara did not show enough attachment to the land of Ivory Coast to pretend to lead the country. And there are other people who say no, Mr. Ouattara is like us. Ivory Coast is the land of immigrants. It does not matter if he was known as a citizen of Volta. He deserves to run as any other person who has two parents who are Ivorian in the country. That was the crisis. That crisis was not resolved. Babo did not resolve it. PG did not resolve it. Ouattara came to power. We were hoping that he was going to try and solve the issue. He did not, because when Babo allowed, after the Pretoria Agreement, Ouattara to run, it was because he used the power vested in the Constitution to the President, the Article 48, to allow Mr. Ouattara to run for president. So Mr. Ouattara was supposed, to organize a referendum so that everyone can decide, to remove, that disposition in the Constitution about the Article 35 that talks about the condition to run for president. But of course, he was afraid that Mr. Ouattara did not do that, and he decided, to hijack, the constitutional process And then today, it is coming back again. But to be honest with you, there was a time I suggested that Mr. Ouattara should run for president because in the name of peace, for the sake of peace. So that was the position I defended when Mr. Gbagbo was in power, even before the Pretoria Agreement asked Gbagbo to allow Mr. Ouattara to run. So today, I believe that that's why the question is coming back again, and it is too late now for him to try and organize a referendum after the October election. But he would have done it when he became president. That would have been a good move from him.
All right, Dr. Lagoke, but how tenable is the call by the opposition to dissolve the electoral body? Is it justified?
Yes, of course it is justified, but I don't know if they have the means, to do. I don't know if they have the power of mobilization that we saw in Burkina Faso. But they're negotiating, talking to some members of the international community. But yes, I'm going to give you two examples. Mr. Bani, who was a former governor of the West African Central Bank, Mr. Isia Kamara, who was the Minister of Foreign Affairs. But those two, just to talk about those two candidates, they do not even have one representative in the Electoral Commission, because the way they put together that commission, the members come from different political parties. But Bani and then AC are independent candidates. They are not candidates of PDC. They come the party of origin that decided in order to support Ouattara because Mr. Bedi, the very man who brought the concept of equality in the country, now is in a covenant or in alliance with Mr. Ouattara. So I'm going to be a candidate, and then I don't even have one single representative in the Electoral Commission. So of course, they justify when they ask for the dissolution of the Electoral Commission, or they ask for its reform.
Now, Dr. Lagoke, how far-reaching is the argument against Mr. Ouattara as against the socio-political and economic situation in the country, or when compared with the argument against his nationality and other arguments being put forward by the opposition against his re-election bid? Which, on a balance of a scale, is stronger?
Can you repeat your question? I believe I understand, but can you repeat your question so I can be sure of what you meant?
Which is stronger against his candidacy? Which argument is stronger? That of him not having done anything for the country, or his nationality?
Yeah, no, that's a very important question too. You guys have a quality to ask very interesting questions. Mr. Ouattara, I will say that it is how can I say that? It is what he did not do. I believe that people can talk about his nationality today. I wouldn't say that it is not important, because of course that's an issue that they should have resolved. But I believe that it is the fact that Mr. Ouattara is really working against national unity. He is putting the people of his ethnic group everywhere in senior position in the administration. You take every sector of the administration, you will see people from the north. And even if we knew that tribalism is part of African politics, Mr. Ouattara took it to the highest level. And the fact that he has that the group we call the traditional hunters, who are like a group that is repressing and oppressing people everywhere, like in the country. And then the fact that what Ouattara is doing can backfire. The fact that the people from Burkina Faso are now, some of them are now like in a reserved like a forest in Ivory Coast. More than 32,000 of them are there. And Mr. Ouattara is not doing anything for that. So for somebody like me who believes in unity, who believes in Pan-Africanism, I believe that Mr. Ouattara is working against the agenda of the African unity, and then he's serving, that's the most important thing, he's serving the interests of neo-colonial forces. So I will say that the nationality issue for me is important.
Dr. GNAKA LAGOKE, political analyst, many thanks for your thoughts on Ivory Coast situation. Still to come on TVC News Hour.